Hey parents, it's Robbin McManne here. I want to talk to you about something that happens to all of us in our parenting, and that is we get angry at our kids. We lose it. They have behavior we don't like. They don't listen to us. We feel stressed. They act out, and we end up losing our cool. So many of the parents that I work with want to learn why they get so angry and how to stop being so angry. So I want to help you with that. And I want you to know that when I first became a mom, I was really angry too. In fact, I was so angry and felt so triggered all the time that I thought maybe one day I might leave my family. I even thought that I was such a bad mom because I couldn't keep my cool, that my family would be better off and maybe the world would be better off without me. And so I was able to get the help that I needed in order to learn why my kids act the way they act and why I would get so angry. And so what I needed to do is find out what drove my anger, but also why my kids act the way they do, so that I could come together with them and build a relationship that's really based on understanding, that's built on mutual trust and respect. So I want to talk to you about why you get so mad. And in fact, there's a few different reasons why we get mad. One is we have triggers. We have triggers from our past. And actually, we operate from the place we're hurt the most. And oftentimes, where we were hurt the most is in our own childhood. And we have experiences of being unheard, of being disregarded, of being disrespected. And unfortunately, when our kids come along, they tend to do things and show up in a way that makes us feel like we did as kids. And when we were kids, we were powerless to do anything about it. There were injustices. There were things that we couldn't change because our parents were in control. But now we're the parent. We're the ones in control. So we lash out at our kids. We yell at them. We punish them. We threaten them. We make them do things because I'm the boss and how dare you disrespect me. And what happens is we yell at them. We do all those things like I just said, and we're actually yelling at the wrong person, because really the initial hurt comes from our own childhood. And so what it requires is for us to take a look at that past hurt and say, what was going on? What do I do to my kids now that was done to me when I was a child? How did that make me feel? How did I make sense of that? What did I say to myself about that? And so to give you an example, maybe you yell and threaten your kids, and that was done to you. And when it was done to you, maybe that made you feel scared, made you feel unheard, made you feel unimportant, like you didn't matter, like what you had to say and your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions didn't matter. I know for me, that's something that happened to me when I was a child. I wasn't heard. I wasn't listened to. And so when my kids didn't listen to me, I would rage at them because I was the boss now and I expect you to listen. But it didn't work. It didn't work. And all it did was make me so angry. And I wasn't actually figuring out what was the real reason behind my kids' behavior. I was just acting from my own, I kind of look at it as a bubble, right? Our own bubble of our own feelings and needs and experiences. And our kids are over here just in their own bubble of their own feelings and needs and experiences. And they don't have a fully grown brain and they have very limited experiences as well. So when we go to punish them or to yell at them, it's really our own pain. And when we do that, it doesn't change the behavior. Maybe it does temporarily, but eventually your child starts to resent you. They stop listening to you. They don't respect you. And you've lost the opportunity to teach what they should do or can do next time And you have lost the opportunity to influence your kids, because as they get older, your threats, your punishments, yelling at them, your lectures will fall on deaf ears, and they'll just cast you aside because they've got their own freedom. They have a job, they have their own money. You can threaten to take things away from them, but they don't care anymore. And I've got teenagers, so I can tell you it's true. So we want to really be in a place where we're always addressing their behavior and leaving our stuff aside. So the real key to doing this is to acknowledge that you may have some past hurts. And I want to tell you that if you are feeling triggered, I do have a whole handout that is about how to turn a no into cooperation. And you can go to triggerfreeparents.com and you can download that so that you can show up in a more peaceful way for your kids. I'll tell you the one thing to say when your child says no, how to get them to listen the first time, and really why our kids don't want to listen to us and how to get them to listen. So please check that out. And I can tell you that when I was able to heal my triggers and recognize that that was my past stuff, I was able to show up for my kids in a really different way. I was actually able to disconnect from their emotions in the moment and not make it about me, because really their behavior is never about you. So here's what I want to invite you to do when you feel triggered. And that is to first pause. You want to just stop for a second, and you may feel that anger rising up in you. Use that as your signal to stop. This is a practice. It's not easy. It's not always easy to remember. Our minds go blank. Sometimes there's blind rage, but I want you to use that as your signal to just stop for a second. Take a breath. Take a deep breath. Now, it sounds like a platitude to say, oh, just breathe. But actually, it's so powerful, because when we take a minute to breathe, we're sending a signal to our brain that we're safe. Oftentimes, we're parenting in fight, flight, or freeze. And that is using a survival level response, like a tiger is coming at me, like I am about to be mauled or hurt or killed, with an everyday problem in family life, like disrespect, your kid's not listening to you, or a refusal to cooperate, just to name a few. So breathe, take a deep breath. And there is a great way to breathe that you might really enjoy, that is a square breathing. And so you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold for 4. In fact, this is scientifically proven to calm you down. It's recommended by all the professionals to really get you back in control. So you take those deep breaths, you calm yourself down, and remember, tell yourself, this isn't an emergency. Parenting day to day is not an emergency. And what I mean by that is you don't have to handle everything in the moment, right? Your child gives you disrespect, your child yells at you. Take a second. You don't need to respond right this second. You can wait a moment. Now, if there's blood, if somebody's hurt, yes, of course, you go to them. But in general, it's not an emergency. So you have that moment to calm yourself first. And when you do calm yourself first, you're able to respond instead of react. And I'll tell you, it feels really good when you parent in a way that you can be proud of. I know it does. I know that you beat yourself up when you don't parent the way that you want to, that you meant to, that you've been trying to. And then you beat yourself up and you tell yourself, well, I just can't do this. This is hopeless. I've ruined my kids. But you haven't. It's never too late. So pause and calm yourself down and notice what you're saying to yourself. What is the internal dialogue that you have saying? And so I want to share with you what cognitive behavioral therapy tells us, that really it's our thoughts that fuel our emotions that create our reactions. So there is a triangle here. And sometimes it's our feelings that fuel our thoughts and therefore our reactions. But I like to look at it as our thoughts first. And here's the thing, our thoughts aren't good or bad. They just come in to our brain and they go. But sometimes we sort of hear a thought, we identify with it, and then we want to keep it. We're like, yeah, that makes sense. But the reason why we don't want to do that is, first of all, our thoughts are not facts. And we often choose a thought and that doesn't serve us, like you ruin everything. And that thought, now our brain says, oh, okay, is this what we believe? Okay, great. So now I'm going to point out all the ways that you ruin everything. And I'll tell you, this was one of my limiting beliefs that I had. This is one of the thoughts that I had that really became a belief for me about one of my kids, that you ruin everything. And so all I would see was proof that he ruined everything. That's confirmation bias. And what I needed to do is to really look at it and say, well, is it true? Yeah, it's true. I would say to myself, is it really true? Well, I guess it's not really true. I mean, I guess it's not really true. So if it's not really true and I'm using it all the time, what is it costing me? And back when I thought that about my son, it cost me everything. It cost me my joy, it cost me connection with him. It cost me enjoying time together. It cost me my confidence, my ability to stay calm. And when I say my confidence, I don't just mean as a mom, it cost me my confidence as a woman, as a person. I felt like I needed to hide, and I had deep shame because I thought I was a terrible mom. And I would cry and I would cry myself to sleep. I would beat myself up and my life was terrible. And that's why I thought I should leave. That's why I thought maybe I should leave this earth. And that was a really dark place I was in. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts that you have? Are they serving you? Is it true? Is it really true? And what is it costing you? Because guess what? We can change our thoughts. And through the work that I did, and I had a coach help me, and she asked me those questions. And at first I was like, yeah, it's totally true. I don't want to let it go. And then I realized how much it was costing me. And then the invitation was to change it. How can I change it to a new thought that both empowers me and my child? And so after really taking some time to quiet my own mind, what I came up with was, we can work it out. And in fact, just that statement alone, even now, makes me want to roll my shoulders back, and I feel confident and I feel capable that, you know what, there is nothing you can say and do that we can't work out. You know, I have a son that has some oppositional defiance. He has ADHD. He has some other stuff going on as well. And he's a tough kid to parent. And he is, for the most part, a no before he's a yes. And so I know that for me, I just need to wait when I offer something, when I suggest something, when I ask something, that I just need to wait. And eventually he will be a yes, and we can work it out. And so I'll go to him and say, all right, well, how do we figure this out? Because we still have to do this thing. How do we figure it out? And so just that pausing, that recognizing your thought, inviting yourself to change that thought, and that's a process. You don't have to do it in that second, but recognize that maybe my child just needs help, right? What's really going on? What's really fueling this behavior? Why did my child say no? I love to start with curiosity instead. And so when we go back to that triangle that I just mentioned, if I were to say, you ruin everything, well, that makes me feel disrespected. It makes me feel helpless, powerless, frustrated, angry. And then my reaction is to go to him, yell at him, to lecture him, to tell him how he's frustrating and how he's a disappointment and all of those things, which creates a whole other spiral of problems. But if I were to go to him instead and say, we can work this out, it makes me feel confident and capable. It also makes me feel curious, like, what can we do instead? It makes me feel collaborative. It makes me feel open. And then I go to him with a completely different energy and say, okay, how do we work this out? What should we do? What do you suggest? Here's what I suggest. What are you feeling and needing? Here's what I'm feeling and needing. And we really open up a space to work together. It's parenting with, not parenting over, where you're dominating and forcing your kid to do what you want them to do because I said so, right? Again, that doesn't work. Over time, it loses its ability to convince your child to do what you say because they don't want to be controlled. So when you're feeling angry, use that as your invitation to stop and breathe. Notice what your thoughts are. See if in that moment you can change your thought to something more empowering for yourself and your child, and go to your child with curiosity, ask why, and go to collaborate together. So give that a try. Please tell me in the comments how that works for you. I know that you're here watching because you're already a great parent. You love your kids. You want to connect with your kids, and you just want a little bit more cooperation. You want to feel less triggered and angry. And I totally understand that. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this message too, please share with them. And if you leave me a comment, I will do my best to respond. And don't forget that I have a whole guide on how to turn a no into cooperation, and that's at triggerfreeparents.com. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you for being the kind of parent who wants to show up differently for your kids, because you will get better cooperation and you're growing the kids for tomorrow's world. And these are the kids that will be the leaders of tomorrow. Thanks for watching.